Happy
Happy
New
New
Year!
Year!
Oh, my little puppy just looked. I just woke her up from a sleep. Sorry, Biscotti. Happy New Year, Nap Trappers. It's so good to be back. Bec, I've spoken to you a million times since Christmas and New Year's, but
I know.
Happy New Year to you too.
Happy New Year, Sally. It's been a whirlwind of a few days of this, start of the new year. I actually haven't had any time off. For once, I have worked all the way through Christmas and these New Year days.
Just
Just
you've
keep
been
rolling.
pumping. It's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, no, I actually, the intention wasn't to actually continue working all the way through Christmas and New Year's, but I did have some amazing families come through right at the last minute, and I was like, I just know I can help you, and let's just get started straight away. So it all worked out, and it was brilliant, and here we are, kickstarting the new year off with the clients and the
And we're
podcasting
back in
episodes
your
that we've
ears.
been
That's
planning
it.
on doing.
Yeah. And I've launched a new membership and you
You
are in there
have.
and
You've
you and
been
I
very
are
busy.
launching. Yeah. I actually think maybe for you and I now that taking time off, I almost don't know how
How we do that?
yeah. New membership. You and I are starting Camp Snooze, our 2-week virtual sleep training package. Next week it is all happening. I
systems go.
remember growing up, sometimes on Christmas morning, I'd do ward rounds with my dad, who was a surgeon, and I'd be like, "What do you mean? Like, you got to do that on Christmas morning?" He's like, "Well, people don't stop getting sick on Christmas." And just hearing you talk about, like, babies don't suddenly decide to sleep better just because it's the festive season or if it's a new year. So, we keep going. We are here to help. Well, and we have a lot of exciting episodes planned as well.
We
for
do.
Nap Trapped.
We do. Busy as always because there's always lots of topics when it comes to babies and sleep. So
yes,
and things that we haven't thought of for a long time actually have started cropping back up again. So definitely some little archived thoughts will probably come back into play. So yeah, keep listening. It's going to be a great year in terms of episodes.
Today's episode is answering a really common question and a really great question that we get asked all the time, particularly because, Bec, you and I we're going to use a particular scenario here for a 7-month-old baby where we will have you on a 7 p.m. till a 7 a.m. schedule. And some of the questions we get asked about how realistic is that? What do I do if my baby will only sleep until 6:15 a.m.? And we want to talk to you as if we were working through the schedule, as if you were our client on the other end of on the phone, and talk to you about the difference between the up time, so the time we're actually getting up and starting the day, versus awake time on our schedules, because I think once you hear it, it'll be an aha moment where it all makes sense.
This is true. So I guess we sort of start with, I think our schedule that we're going to use is for a 7-month-old, and our 7-month-olds are always on 3 naps through the day. The scheduling will look like 7 a.m. up and milk. Then the first nap will be 9:30 till 10:15, 11 a.m. milk, 12:45 to 2:15 nap, 3 p.m. milk, and then say 4:30 to 5ish, something around that sort of time frame. And then 6:30 milk and 7 p.m. bed. So when we get to this age, we're aiming for 11 to 12 hours of sleep overnight. And quite commonly, we will see little cherubs of this age going off to bed at around 7 o'clock, and then they might get to around 15:15, 20 past, 6:30 in the morning. They've done their 11 1/4 to 11 1/2 hours, and they are done ski. Like they're absolutely done with sleep for their overnight, and they are ready to get up and kickstart the day and all sorts of things. So totally happy with that. We are
no notes.
we're really, really happy with that. But what we do want our families to do in order to future-proof themselves is to consider 7 a.m. as go time. So
Mhm.
uptime is what we call, the start of the day. So 7 o'clock is our uptime.
This is when it is lights, cameras, action. This is when I would say we're going to go in with big smiles, even if the night before was looking a little
Mm,
clunky. Big smiles, big hit of endorphin. I'm so happy to see you. Blinds open
mhm,
or straight out into the living room with the blinds open. So signaling to their brain it's light now versus the pitch black that we'd like to have your baby in otherwise. And this is when you're starting the day with your anchored in full milk feed. So
mm,
where all the things that signal to your baby's brain that it's time to start the day, food, light, and socialization, we are saying 7 a.m. we're on. And there are a couple of reasons why we do this. One, as your sleep consultants, we are always protecting and future proofing from all the things that can creep in, like early rising and like just bad nights and things like sickness, teething, all the things that can cause some regressions, particularly when it comes to the early hours of the morning. By holding steady with 7 a.m. as uptime, even though a baby may wake at 6:20, we want to encourage them that it is absolutely okay, more than okay, to wake up slow. That
yeah.
you will always come and get them. I was thinking about this on holidays the other day, where it's one of my most favorite things to wake up and know that I don't have to get up yet.
Oh, yeah. Mm,
Heaven.
absolutely. I think there's something really, it's really hardcore. Like that's probably the only word that I could think of. Like when your child is really little and they wake up screaming and you wake to
Mm.
that,
Oh,
and
jarring.
it's jarring. It feels like a shot of adrenaline has just been
Mm,
pumped through your body, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to get up. I've got to kickstart the day before you've even really woken up yourself,
mm.
and um and there is an art to having your little one wake slowly and be prepared to chat to themselves and play with their toes, or maybe, flick through a soft book when they're a little bit older and that type of thing. Just
Mm.
waking up slow, there's a
Play with
real
their
art form
dummies
to
and
it.
bang them
Yes.
together. They're little
So
bunnies.
cute. But it's really important to offer an opportunity for your baby to relax when they wake up and start the day, because it's it is time to relax and, they don't have to think about their day, I guess. I don't have to get my lunch ready or
I gotta get ready for work.
gotta pack my milk, all
Yeah.
those things for childcare. But it is just it's knowing that everything is in alignment, everything is in
Mm,
sequence, everything will be dealt to as soon as mum gets me up to kickstart the day.
mm,
And because our little one's internal body clock is so heavily influenced by light and dark and stimulation, it is quite easy to achieve. It doesn't feel like it in the moment when you're working on a little bit of like maybe, the early rise protocol or so forth. But once
mm.
you've established all of this, it is a really simple, if like, it is a really simple thing that your little one will start to sort of understand in
Yeah.
terms of I wake up, I just hang out in my cot. Oh, I can hear the shower going. I know mum and dad are getting close to getting me up. And then all of a sudden, curtains are open, doors are open, we're out with the dogs and so
Mm,
forth. So, um, it does provide a bit of a buffer. The reason why we work really hard on doing this is because we want to make sure that your schedule holds steady through the day so that your little one's internal clock can then recognize tired feelings at similar times each day, so that the naps
mm,
become easier, feeds become easier, everything becomes easier when you're on a really predictable rhythm through the day. And those hormones are secreted and released. So it's important to hold steady on your uptime so that then all that sequencing holds steady through the day. If um if we were to encourage you to sort of get your baby up when they first woke, so for example, if baby woke at 6:20 and we just got our little ones up, then that will signal to your baby that that's the right time to get up and start the day. And
Mm,
so then there's natural light that's sort of included in that. And then it's really hard. If you do that repeatedly each and every day, it's really hard for your little one to then start waking slightly later in the morning, because it becomes part of their internal clock. And what actually tends to happen is if you are starting your day slightly earlier, then their fragile moment starts to become earlier. So if
mm.
you're really
It's a
happy with
slippery
starting,
slope, isn't it?
yeah, because some families are in the camp of, oh, I'm fine to start my day at 6:30. We're happy with it.
Mm,
We are also happy for you to start your day at 6:30, but in
mm,
order to anchor that in and get your baby sleeping as close to 6:30 as humanly possible, you kind of actually have to work to 7 o'clock in the
mm.
beginning, like with your scheduling. Because if we were to get our little ones up at 6:30, they will tend to wake at 5:30 and just wait for the 6:30 to
Yeah.
get up. And so it's the same thing. It's sort of that we work to 7 o'clock, so that then we've got this buffer of realistically your child is waking at 6:15 and hanging out, waiting for seven
Yeah.
o'clock.
My second child, he's a 6:20.
Yep.
He's a 6:20 boy, always has been, and I know, like, he's not watching the clock. They don't know, "Oh, yes, in 25 minutes,
Mm.
minimum, my mother will come and retrieve me." It's just a rhythm that
Mm.
that he has and that both of my children have, is that we just have this sort of status quo of I wake, I hang out. He now plays with some Hot Wheels cars. He definitely will call out every now and again, like, "Mummy, is that you?" or "Mummy, it's wake up time." And he knows that I will always, always, always come and get him. And it's wonderful. And we
Mm.
start our day and we
Mm.
move on. It's really, we really want to normalize that 6:15, 6:20 off our schedules with, in this example, of a 7 p.m. bed. That is a great night. A
Yeah.
baby does not have to sleep, be out cold at 7:02 and up at 6:58,
Yeah.
ready to start the day. Can some? Absolutely. But the
Mm.
other reason we would do that is we are often working with families who, despite their best efforts, have really tried to get better sleep and have just sort of resigned to the fact that they must be a low sleep total baby. If we don't ever offer longer,
Mm.
every baby's going to hit 10 and a half hours and be like, I'll just get up. Thanks.
Mm.
Like, this is,
Yeah, yeah.
this will do. This will do. I'll get up.
Yeah.
And then the rhetoric is, oh, babies like to wake early. Toddlers like to wake early. That's just parenthood. That's just baby sleep. No,
Mm.
no, we actually need to offer and encourage longer. The other huge benefit, and I see this not only with the families that I work with, but in my own house, is that when things like the sickness and the teething and the off nights that I was talking about
Mm.
before naturally occur, none of us are immune to any of that, is that because your baby already has this rhythm of I wake up and I still get to hang out in my cot, if they would like to go back to sleep, they can. There
Mm.
isn't the habit formed of I wake, I scream, I get up, and there's nothing in between.
Mm.
They know that they can just roll around, do their thing, blow some raspberries, suck their thumb. And you know what? I was up 3 times in the night, not feeling great. I'm actually going to drift back
Mm.
off. And that's what we always want to allow. Same thing for when you start childcare, and naps inevitably go a bit skew with, and everyone's a little bit overtired, and we often get some early rising start to creep in. If they have always known that they can take longer, even if they've had wakings in between, then they will take it.
Mhm.
And that is exactly what I see in my house, even with my 6:20 a.m.er.
Mm. That's right. So yeah, there's a lot of debate whether or not a child can sleep all the way through till 7 a.m. And I guess our biggest takeaway with this is that we're not expecting them to. We're not
Yeah, no.
expecting them to do the full 12 hours. We want them to sleep somewhere between 11 and 12 and have a buffer time where they're
Yes.
relaxed, and then they're chill in their cot and they're waiting for mum and dad to get them up and out and start the day. And it just means then that your uptime is filled with really clear sequencing all the way through until the next nap. And it adds to that whole idea of rhythm, repetitive patterns, Babies love patterns. They are natural pattern seekers. They, love to know what's coming up next. And I think by holding steady on a 7 o'clock, you'll get a really clear, predictable rhythm all the way through to the first nap, which really holds you in good stead for, maintaining the rest of the day and
Mm.
whatnot. Um, so yeah, that's the uptime.
The other reason why I think it's really important is it's pretty much a non-negotiable when we are implementing the early rise protocol, which is when we have got all of our ducks in a row, we've figured out all of the root causes, environment, calories, scheduling, as to why a baby might be wanting to start their day in the fours or fives. We actually need to, even though we're here saying we're anticipating and hoping for a wake somewhere between 6 and 7, we actually need to hold steady with the 7 a.m. because we need to offer the maximum opportunity for a baby to actually go back to sleep when you are implementing the early rise protocol and a
Mm,
sleep training technique. Because I routinely see babies fall asleep. I've even had babies fall asleep at 6:51.
yeah,
They were
yeah.
up at 5:02, and we have been consistent with the approach, the protocol, the technique, and at 6:51 they roll over and go back to sleep, and we wake them at 7. It's a very
Mhm,
short-term problem, but if
mm,
we had pulled the pin at 6:05 because, "Oh gosh, we've been doing this since 5:05," you
mm,
miss that opportunity.
mm,
And when we are wanting to fix an early rise, we have to overreach till 7 to offer the opportunity so they get time to practice the skill of, do you know what? Nothing else exciting is happening. I am actually really tired
mm,
and this is the perfect environment. My tummy's still full. Okay, I'm going
mm.
to try something different other than standing up and bellowing for 2
Yeah.
hours.
That's right, because a lot of little ones as well, they once they sort of get to that whole 6:30, 7 a.m. sort of time frame, they are starting to sort of get the idea that actually there's a pattern being developed here. So if you're starting
Mm,
your early rise protocol and they've woken at 5 o'clock, you're kind of going in once every 7 to 10 minutes just to sort of very quickly ninja out, ninja in, ninja
yeah.
out, just
Yeah.
a
No,
quick
no, darling.
reassurance.
Yep.
Um, and if you're working hard, if you've been routinely getting your little one up at, in the fives somewhere, then this is really important that you start, being really clear and consistent and creating this pattern of response. And, come 6:30, now they're sort of realizing, well, hang on, actually we're not getting up to start the day, and I am recognizing my tired feelings are still
Yeah.
here.
I am
Uh,
tired.
so you've kind of got to give them this big chunk of time to, one, offer the opportunity for them to go back off to sleep, but two, if they don't go back off to sleep, it's not the end of the world. It's
Mm,
totally fine. By starting your day at 7, that's the hard work in itself. Is
yeah.
that the
You haven't
exposure to the natural
reinforced
light?
it.
Exactly. And then you kind of double down with that first nap being as close to 9:30 as humanly possible. And then all of a sudden, everything starts to take shape from that point
Mm,
onwards. You have to have a starting point. But yeah, if you're in the camp of, I'm fine with 6 a.m., like I want to start my day at 6 a.m., totally fine. You can start your day at 6, but the the thing to remember is that most little ones will start waking in expectation of their
6.
day starting. So if your schedule is more of a 6 till 6, there's really high chance that your child is going to wake at 5 to start the day at
Mm,
6, or 5:20 to start the day at 6. So if you were to want to try and encourage your baby to actually wake at 6 instead of, you still need to wake them at 7. You actually
yeah.
have to,
Yeah.
like you were saying, you overreach to 7 o'clock
Mm.
so that then they start comfortably moving closer and closer to that uptime. And you hold steady on that so that then that becomes a really predictable wake time and so forth. You kind of work backwards from there. But it's a really hard concept to grasp, I think, sometimes when we're sort of
Yeah,
working on the early
particularly
rise.
when you just read the schedule, whether it's on our social media or if you just hear us
Mm,
call it out, we're doing a 7 a.m. up and milk and then,
mm,
next minute 7 p.m. bed. I absolutely understand where it would be the interpretation would be, oh, so they have to sleep 7 till 7. I can't get
mm,
mine past
mm,
6:15. This schedule must be wrong, or am I doing it wrong
mm.
or something? No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Think of it more like overnight cot time that they
Yeah.
go, because the other thing is they're not going to be asleep on the dot of 7 a.m. for the
Mm,
most part. We've talked about in lots of other episodes of how long it could. They might fall asleep at 7:30, and then we factor in that buffer on both ends of the
mm,
night. And then, as everyone knows, we all wake up multiple times overnight.
mm,
So all of those micro wakings, they're all factored in to
mm,
this nap time. But there is reason as to why, because we are working to A, fix problems, and B, protect the work that you have already done at bedtime and overnight from it, because it can be such a slippery slope
yeah.
more so for some temperaments. And I think temperament also, we should discuss that a little bit, because it can sound like, oh, well, that's all well and good to just say don't get them up for 45 minutes if they were up at 6:15. Some babies do signal stronger, and I have one of
Yeah.
each. One, I would go in at 7 and think, oh my goodness, you're wide awake. How long have you been? And I didn't have a monitor.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Have you been up since 5? Like, I don't, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Mm,
But she was just so quiet.
mm.
She would suck her thumb. Whereas my second baby, you knew when he had opened his eyeballs. And so it was a bit more of a process for me as well, to just get used to, oh no, that's okay that he calls out or chats
Mm,
or blows her eyes. Like, it's okay. The next question, which I'll feed to you, Bec, is that I suspect a lot of listeners are wondering, is that, okay, so if we have 7 a.m. up, but let's say a baby was actually awake at 6:20,
mhm.
is that 9:30 nap not too long? Like, do I need to change that based on whether or not they woke at 6:20 versus 6:50, or is 9:30 a.m. just anchored in?
I would say at this age we're anchoring 9:30 in
Mm.
because the majority of the families that we're working with, we're resolving sleep issues, and for a lot of families, we're needing to work on their early rise and maximizing their sleep overnight. So yes, the first nap will still be anchored at 9:30.
Yeah.
So it will be a longer time frame that they're awake for, so longer than the average wake window, but we are only looking for a short nap at 9:30. So we're not sort of, if we have to, assist rock, pat, hole, cuddle to sleep and they only sleep for 30 minutes, it's not a deal breaker. It's just a
Mm.
short term pain for long-term
Yep.
success.
Yeah.
So we do. We would we would be finding it quite difficult. That last 15, 20 minutes would be a lot of the art of distraction sort of going on, but we
Mm.
would absolutely try and get to 9:30, because also when we're working on early rising, we're working on reorganizing the internal clock. The more consistent you can be, the faster the resolution.
Mm.
So, it's the same as, you'll always refer back to, time zone and jet lag and so
Mm.
forth.
Mm.
If we are always floating, there is never one definitive moment for our babies to sort of, anchor into. If we hold steady and we are very predictable and super consistent each and every day, the patterns emerge. And then
Yeah.
our little ones sort of, they can clearly understand what our expectations are around waking and starting the day and when the feeds are and so forth. And it becomes it becomes a really great flow on effect. We're starting
Mm.
with a little bit of, oh, that was a little bit rough around the edges, like first thing in the morning. It's not the most amazing way to start the day initially if you're having to
No.
work on it. And so that's why I understand for some families, oh gosh, if there's a few tears first thing in the morning, it feels like you're setting the day off on a negative wicket.
Mm.
But very quickly, once you've got everything else lined up through the day, very quickly that turns around.
I'm
And
just imagining dominoes, isn't it? Like, you've got
it is.
the first challenge, and the first domino starts to fall in a good way
Yeah.
once you delay until 7 a.m., and
Yeah,
then it all just has this flow and effect, doesn't it?
it does. And so that's why we wouldn't ask families to do something that we're not completely confident in and that
Or that we
we
wouldn't
know
do ourselves,
works,
and I
that we wouldn't do it. Yeah.
absolutely
Mm,
have done this myself.
yeah. I've
Absolutely.
done it. All the children I've nannied for, all my own
Yeah.
children, we've had years and years and years of experience doing this. So
Yeah.
it definitely works. Um But yeah, so the domino effect
Yeah.
takes shape, and then all of a sudden, if you're really consistent and so forth, you start to see the big shift coming in the morning. And so if you're working on, say, an early rise and your child is waking at, say, 5:45 and you're wanting them to get slightly later, by delay in the morning until 7 o'clock and then your first nap at 9:30, very quickly you'll start to see a shift from, instead of waking at 5:45, now they're waking at 5:55, and then the
Mm.
next morning at 6 a.m., and then the next morning after that it might be 6:10. And so it's just a really, it's not a forever thing that we're
Bradshaw.
asking for this to
No.
happen. And they cotton on super quick to, oh cool, I can just chill, yes, like in my
Yeah.
cot, like
Yeah.
super happy.
Yeah,
You'll
it's
be
a
surprised.
changing of expectation for them as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is that, let's say you do have a baby that sleeps more like to the 6:50, amazing, and you're
Mm,
thinking, well, 9:30, that's different from off a 6:20 start. Is that first wake window for a lot of babies is often the smaller one. There's still a little bit
mm,
of a hangover from overnight sleep pressure. I was just trying, as I was listening to you, trying to think of if I've ever had a baby not go down, like, based on the natural fluctuation of 6:20 versus 6, and I haven't. It may be that instead of absolutely conking out at 9:30, they take
mm,
10 minutes to fall
mm,
asleep, but again, that's a non-issue for me, and I would still cap the nap at
mm,
10:15 to keep the day on track.
mhm,
So, yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head where it's been, no, I anchor in 9:30.
mhm. Yep. It's just, it becomes part of the internal clock. So whether it's 2.5 hours later or 3 hours later, like the wake window almost is irrelevant because
Mm,
your clock starts at 7. So,
mm,
your uptime is 7. So you've got this, your internal clock is wired to expect the 2.5 hours of uptime from 7 o'clock onwards. So,
mm.
yeah, it's,
There's also a difference, and maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but there's also a difference for a baby who's just hung out calmly in their cot from 6:20 till 7 in terms of energy exerted compared to you
mm,
get your baby up, they're down on the mat, rolling, crawling,
yeah,
climbing, and absolutely exhausted by 9:30, and it really does feel like a stretch. If they've just hung out and kind of dozed in and out
mm,
and had a babble, they're not working too hard to then
mm,
be absolutely fried by 9:30.
mm, that's correct. I guess there's another angle to the uptime as well that we're
Mm.
quite commonly, there's another question that families will ask us when it comes to wake windows and like the end of the naps and how this might work.
Yes.
So the other question we get asked is, if my baby finishes a nap early, do I time the next nap from the time that they woke from that nap, or from the time they were supposed to, or the time I got them up out of the cot?
Mm,
Because quite commonly, if we're working on naps, for example, potentially that second nap, we would do cot time to try and extend a nap at some point. So if
mm,
the nap was, say, for a 7-month-old, if the nap was supposed to finish at, say, 2 or 2:15 and baby woke at 1:30, if we were actively working on that nap, we'd say just, delay until 2 o'clock,
mm. Yep.
and then get baby up. And then so the question is, do I go from the time he woke or the time that I
Mm.
got baby up out of the cot?
In that scenario, I'd be saying 1:30 versus 2:15. I'd be saying we're going to use your wake window from when they actually woke, and it
Mm,
may be, and this absolutely happens every 2-week package we ever do, right? When we're
mm,
actively
mm,
nap training, nap two never just on day, well, very rarely on day one is just like, yes, great, I will take a 12:45 till 2:15 with
mm,
no issues. Um, I would be using the wake window from when they actually woke, and you may need to extend the length of the third nap just to end up in a better rested place. Sometimes there's no like exact science and
mm,
formula. We just sort of have to make do a little bit. And yes, it may mean a slightly early to bed. You would still then hold steady with your 7 a.m. because every day gets better and better and better. But what we often are trying to avoid is that if we use the wake window from the 2:15 desired end of nap time, but he was up at 1:30, chances are you then get an overtired third
Mm,
nap,
that's correct. And
and
we really want that
then
third
we're
nap to
struggling.
happen. Yeah.
Yes, versus a
S-
baby that's essentially been given a shot of Red Bull, and then at 5 o'clock we'll be like, "Could you please fall
yeah.
asleep?"
So here's the jam. We want you to self-settle
Yeah,
now. Like we're
yeah.
yeah, so we're trying to protect bedtime as much as humanly possible. So we're optimizing sleep potential going into the night. So that's where in the second half of the day, if they are awake early from nap 2, we use the time that they open their eyes. That is counted as minute 1 of their
Yeah,
wake
yeah,
window.
yeah, yeah. Okay, here's a question based on that, what I just heard you say as well. You said if we're aiming for nap 2 to end somewhere between 2 or 2:15, if baby wakes at 2 and 2:15 is on the schedule, do you alter your so they've had a great nap,
Oh
they've
yeah.
slept 12:45 till 2,
Hmm.
eyes open, bright-eyed and
Yep.
bushy-tailed at 2 o'clock. Do you then make any difference to your timing of nap 3 based on those 15 minutes?
At that age, I do personally. I do.
So you would do instead of I'll just ask you, what timing would you then do for your third nap? You would delay
Uh,
getting up until 2:15?
I would still add
Yep.
that delay in because essentially I want to have that melatonin production kicking on like until 2:15 so that we create that moment in time for the internal clock to wire into this is nap time.
Yep.
And then 2:15 up and at 'em, and then I would move my third nap 15 minutes earlier.
Mhm.
So instead of it being say 4:45, it would be like 4:30 till 5 o'clock
4:30.
with a 7
Yeah,
p.m.
and then a
bedtime.
7. Yeah.
Mm.
I
What would you
some
do?
I do a bit of a combination depending on how
Mm.
everything else is going, and also depending on how many other children a
Oh yeah.
family have. Sometimes I feel like you can be a bit damned if you do, damned if you
Mm.
don't. If baby wakes 5 minutes early, so let's say at 2:10,
Oh yeah.
they're awake versus 2:15, that's negligible for me. And
Yeah.
I am similar. I am exactly the same with you. I would still delay until 2:15, because I also want to encourage, again, that buffer of, "Oh, it's okay to wake up from my nap and not
Yeah. Get up
scream to
immediately.
get
Yeah.
up." Yes, yeah. We want to offer these ongoing micro moments of learning and opportunity to just chill, just be
Mm.
cool,
Yeah.
hang out. You good. But it's the same. It's the concept of la pause, right? That even
Mm.
as a newborn, you might just think, "Oh, is that a snuffle and a squeak and active sleep, or is this a full-blown wake up? I'll just watch and wait." And
Mm.
so this is just sort of the evolution of that is the delay,
Yeah.
delay, delay. Um, but if it's any more than definitely if it's any more than 15 minutes, I'll be bringing something forward. And
Mm.
I would, as a baby gets older and they have a bigger threshold for a slightly longer wake window here and there,
Mm.
I wouldn't worry so much.
Yeah.
But yes, we like to
Correct.
micromanage.
Well, I think especially if I've got a client and they've messaged me with the 15-minute, issue, then I would definitely adjust. But there's clients out there that they'll just go for it and just sort of hold steady on the original routine and it works out
Mm,
fine. In which
yeah,
case, well, awesome.
yeah.
I think if you held steady on the original and you realize that actually that wake window then caused some issues, then it
Then,
would be a case of,
yeah.
well,
And some babies
that's
are a little
fine.
bit more
Tomorrow we'll do
sensitive
it.
to that.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you kind of will get to know your child and what
Mm,
they can tolerate and what will be sending them a little bit over the edge. Even
mm,
if it's just 3 or 4 minutes over, sometimes they can be cooked by that point, and so you're more of a slightly under than over
yeah.
into the room for a bit of wind down and
I
into the
actually think
cot.
that's a good point of difference that you just touched on as to whether or not you actually hear about it from your client. If I was doing a 2-week package, then because I would actively hear every day for the 2 weeks what time that nap
Mm,
end, I would probably, because that's my job is to
micromanage.
flex and
Yeah.
micromanage, to control everything for you. But if I was creating a plan off a 60-minute consult, my job is to also keep this super simple, and it's probably going to be splitting hairs when you're doing this. I want to take the mental load out for families. So that, in a 2-week package, the mental load is on me to manage. You can message, but I don't want you to have to be doing mental gymnastics when you're doing a DIY approach. So I would just say, I would just keep it very simple.
Exactly. Like that is our role, isn't it?
Yep.
It's just to take that thought process out so you can deliver and use the ways really confidently. And then also it just means that you can troubleshoot later on down the track because we've given you the tools to, this is what happens if this, if this scenario arises, this is how you might, micromanage it this way.
Yeah. I can hear we've already done what we always do, which is like, oh yes, but then in this case, and then in this case, and this in this case, which isn't that simple. But these are the things that you and I, we do micromanage, and we come across just daily and weekly, and that's our job. I think to wrap this up in a simple form is that we are holding steady with our 7 a.m. up. Your baby does not have to be asleep until 7 a.m. Really, we're anticipating something around the 6:15, 6:20 mark, I would say, is the average for most of the babies that I am working with, and that is chef's kiss. We delay to encourage that buffer, that they can always just chill out, go back to sleep if they want to, and we signal lights, camera, action, food, light, and socialization at 7 a.m. You then hold steady with your, in this scenario, 9:30 a.m. nap, but regardless of your age, whatever that first nap on our schedule is, you hold steady with that. Then if you are having a bad nap day, you are actively nap training and things haven't gone to plan, from when baby wakes, you would use your full wake window as we try to minimize overtiredness. Granted, that's some of the trickier, more nuanced scheduling nap training work, and that's where you reach out to one of us and we will absolutely take the wheel. That's our jam.
Absolutely. Thank you for wrapping that up so beautifully in a nice little bow and making it all work.
Happy New Year, 7 a.m. bow.
Yeah.
We're
give
back,
it a whirl, though.
baby.
We would love for you guys to start implementing that as soon as possible and let us know how you're going. We'd love to hear some feedback on that. And let's get stuck into 2026 with some better sleep.
Can't wait. If anyone's got any topic suggestions, I mean, we have a whole list. You should see the WhatsApp chat between Bec and I 24/7. But if you've got any that you'd like to hear about, pop it in the comments section because we are here to help you. And here's to a great 2026 of baby sleep.
Amazing. Let's rock on, Sal. Let's head off and do our thing.
All right.
Clients are waiting.
They are. Okay. See you soon, everyone. Bye.
See ya. Bye.